Sound one, two, check sound.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. آب میں زہرا نے بابا کو جو دیکھا ایک شب خوش ہوئی پاس میں بابا کے چلی جاؤں گی بس اب پھر ہائے رونے لگی بچوں کا خیال آ گیا جب اور یہ خبر ہی نہ ہوئی پاس حسین آ گئے کب ارے اماں ڈھونڈیں گے کہاں یاد اگر آئیں گی ہم تو مر جائیں گے گر آپ چلی جائیں گی. ماں نے جب یہ سنا دل تڑپنے لگا پیار کرتے ہوئے فاطمہ نے کہا دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے. ارے ماں کسی کی ہمیشہ رہی ہے کبھی، میں بھی بچھڑی تھی اماں سے بچپن میں ہی. ماں کے جانے کا دکھ تو بہت تھا مگر دیکھو میں بھی تو بن ماں کے جیتی رہی. تم کو میری قسم تم سے بچھڑے جو ہم، ضبط کرنا ہے لال ماں کا یہ غم. دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے. اے میرے دل میرے چین میرے حسین، نہ پریشان ہو ماں ابھی ہے یہیں. دیکھو مرنے کی اب بات کرنا نہیں، موت سے پہلے ہم مر نہ جائیں کہیں. تم ہو دنیا میری تم سے ہے زندگی، تم کو دیکھوں تو چلتی ہے سانسیں میری. دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے. تم کو کھانا بھی فضا کھلائے گی اب، اور سویرے وہی منہ دھلائے گی اب. تم جہاں جاؤ گے ساتھ جائے گی وہ، ساتھ ماں کی طرح وہ نبھائے گی اب. پالے گی اب وہی ضد نہ کرنا کبھی، خوش رہو گے تو ماں کو بھی ہوگی خوشی. دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے. مجھ کو معلوم ہے میرے نور نظر، ارے پیاس لگتی ہے تم کو بہت رات بھر. ارے پیاس سہنے کی عادت بھی ڈالو ذرا، پیاسا رہنا پڑے کب کہاں کیا خبر. پیاس تم کو لگے اور نہ پانی ملے، یہ دعا ہے کہ وہ دن نہ آئے کبھی. دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے. حال میں نے کسی کو سنایا نہیں، خود تو روئی علی کو بتایا نہیں. ارے میرا پہلو شکستہ ہے بس اس لیے، اپنے سینے سے تجھ کو لگایا نہیں. ٹوٹی ہے پسلیاں کر نہ پائی بیاں، کتنی تکلیف میں جی رہی ہے یہ ماں. دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے. دن وہ آیا کہ جب چل بسی فاطمہ ماں کی میت پہ شبیر نے دی صدا، ارے تم بلاؤ گی تو پاس آؤں گا میں، ٹوٹے بندے کفن فاطمہ نے کہا، آ جائے میری جان تجھ پہ قربان ماں، جب حسین آ کے لپٹے تو بولی یہ ماں، دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے، دیکھو حسین میرے حسین ایسے نہیں کہتے۔ پر محمد والی محمد صلوات۔
تحریر اٹھائے بولی دربار میں آ کر زہرا، لوگوں میں بنت نبی ہوں، ایسا بدلا ہے مدینہ، اپنا حق مانگ رہی ہوں غاصب سے، کلمہ گو کرسی نشی ہے اور میں کب سے کھڑی ہوں ایک تحریر اٹھائے، جتنے دکھ میں نے سہے گر وہ دن پر بھی پڑے، وہ سیاہ رات بنے، یہی دکھ کم تو نہیں ہے، کس قدر تنہا مدینے میں ہوئی ہوں، کوئی سنتا ہی نہیں ہے کہ میں کیا بول رہی ہوں، ایک تحریر اٹھائے، ایسے خاموش ہو کیوں، کہنا چاہو جو کہو، اما کچھ تو بولو، ہو کے بولی بیٹوں سے، ساتھ بہنوں کا نبھانا کربل میں، ننگے سر کیسے چلے گی، بس یہی سوچ رہی ہوں ایک تحریر اٹھائے، پوچھا حیدر نے بتا کیا کیا مسجد میں ہوا، روکے بس اتنا کہا کبھی دیواروں کو تھاما، کبھی میں خاک پہ بیٹھی ہوں تھک کر، کبھی بیٹوں نے سنبھالا، کبھی راستے میں گری ہوں ایک تحریر اٹھائی، وہ تو کم سن ہے ابھی، دور ہے شام سے بھی، سے نہ پائے گی کبھی مجھ سے زینب نے یہ پوچھا کہاں جاتی ہے بتاؤ اے اماں میں نے زینب سے چھپایا کہ میں دربار چلی ہوں ایک تحریر اٹھائے تربت بنت نبی دیکھے اکبر جو کبھی مجھ کو لگتا ہے یہی اس کا مہدی کہتا ہے منتقم بن کے مدینے زہرا کا جلد آؤں گا میں لوگو دور حاضر کا علی ہوں ایک تحریر اٹھائے بھولی دربار میں آ کر زہرا لوگوں میں بنت نبی ہوں صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للذين كفروا واغفر لنا ربنا إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. لقد كان لكم فيهم أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر ومن يتول فإن الله هو الغني الحميد. عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة والله قدير والله غفور رحيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. سلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. The verses that were just recited are from Surah Al-Mumtahina, chapter 60, ayahs 5 to 7. The past 2 nights we have reflected on verses 1 to 4. And looking at verse 5, we see that we need to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray to Allah, "Oh Allah, don't make us the test objects for the atrocities or crimes of the disbelievers." Another reflection that we can take is, don't make us fitna for those who disbelieve. This could also imply that as Muslims, our behavior, our lack of character, course of action, lack of truthfulness will become an obstacle to the path of truth for the disbelievers. What does this mean? People judge a religion based on the practices of its followers. Like Imam Sadiq alayhi salam clearly states, be the inviters towards truth without using your tongues. A hadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam clearly states, Fatima is a part of me. What saddens her saddens me, and what pleases her pleases me. Let me ask myself and leave you with a question. Am I following the practices of Lady Fatima salamullahi alayha, or am I saddening her? Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك بحق فاطمة وأبيها وبعليها وبنوها صلوات الله محمد. દરસમ જમાત તરફથી મેડિકલ ફેસિલિટીઝને અપગ્રેડિંગ કરવામાં આવે છે અને સ્પેશિયલી કોવિડના થવા પછી જમાત ઘણી કોશિશ કરે છે કે આપણી કોમ્યુનિટીને હેલ્થ ફેસિલિટીઝની ફેસિલિટી આપવામાં આવે. તમે જોયા હશો કે હમણાં ઇબ્રાહિમ હાજી હોસ્પિટલ આપણી અપગ્રેડ કરવામાં આવી છે, બારે બધું ફસાદ બદલાવવામાં આવ્યું છે તથા અંદર બી ઘણી ફેસિલિટી ઇમ્પ્રૂવ કરવામાં આવી છે અને અપગ્રેડ કરવામાં આવી છે. જેમ કે ડૉક્ટર્સના રૂમ્સ વધારવામાં આવ્યા છે, સાથે સાથે ડ્રેસિંગ રૂમની ફેસિલિટી અપગ્રેડ કરવામાં આવી છે અને હવેથી પ્રાઇવેટ રૂમ્સ પણ અવેલેબલ હશે કે જે માણસોને, જે બીમાર માણસો હોય, દર્દી હોય, એ લોકોને જો પ્રાઇવેસી જોતી હોય તો સ્પેશિયલ રૂમ્સ રાખવામાં આવ્યા છે, એ લોકોને સવલત થાય. ઇમરજન્સી ફેસિલિટીઝની પણ રાખવામાં આવી છે અને હવેથી થોડો ટાઈમ પછી કેન્ટીન ફેસિલિટીઝ એવા રાખવામાં આવશે. આજે ઘણા દર્દીઓ આવે છે, સાથે એ લોકોના સાથીઓ આવે છે તો ખાવા પીવાની તકલીફ થાય છે, તો કેન્ટીને રાખવામાં આવશે. અને ઇન્ટરનલી બધી ફેસલિફ્ટ કરવામાં આવી છે અને જમાતની ઉમંગ છે કે આ ફેસિલિટી અપગ્રેડ કરવામાં આવે, કે આપણી કોમ્યુનિટી એની યુટિલાઇઝ કરે. એ બારામાં જમાત તમારી પાસે રિક્વેસ્ટ કરે છે કે આપણી કોમ્યુનિટી આપણી હોસ્પિટલની ફેસિલિટી યુઝ કરે અને ઇન્શાઅલ્લાહ ફરીબૂત થશું આપણે આપણા ફેસિલિટીમાં. આપણા કોમ્યુનિટીના બિરાદર જે મુહિબ્બે અહેલ બેત છે અને સાથે સાથે જે કસીદા નવહા મરસિયા જે અહીંયા પડતા હતા, ભાઈ હસનૈનભાઈ મેદી કે જેઓ તમે જાણતા હશો, એ હમણાં મુંબઈમાં બીમાર પડી ગયા છે અને એની જે તકલીફો છે એ પ્રમાણે ખર્ચો એ બહુ છે, લગભગ $40,000 ખર્ચો છે. એ માટે કોમ્યુનિટીને અર્જ કરવામાં આવે છે કે તમે ડોનેશન આપો અને જલ્દી એની શિફા થાય. એ બારે ફેસિલિટી રાખવામાં આવી છે તો તમે ડોનેશન આપો. આજે બીબી ફાતિમાની રાત છે, આપણે એની પાસે દુઆ કરીએ કે એને જલ્દી શિફા થાય. અંતમાં આપણે સૂરે ફાતિહા પઢીએ. જેઓ બીમાર છે, જેઓ હેરાન છે, જેઓ પરેશાન છે, બીબી ફાતિમાના વાસ્તા 14 માસુમીના વાસ્તા આપી અને એ લોકોની શિફા થાય, તકલીફો દૂર થાય અને સલામતી થાય. અલ ફાતિહા. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. أحسن جزاك الله.
Hello. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers, sisters, my youngsters, my elders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, this lecture will bring us to our final one. In the last two lectures, we took a historical view. We discussed the founding of Islam, and then we discussed about the Mongol invasion and what effect that had on the Muslim mind, which split into three schools of thought, which brought us to the 18th century, where the Muslims were being dominated by the Europeans militarily, economically. And the second lecture after that, we looked at what was happening in Europe during the same period. And we saw that in Europe, while Islam was having its golden age, the Europeans were having their dark ages. As they approached Renaissance, which was their golden age, there was a conflict between the church and the science community, which eventually led to the split of church and state, and eventually resulting in a curriculum which was totally secular. The morals which were taught by religion, by Christianity, by the church was removed from the curriculum, resulting in a very materialistic and very acquisitive curriculum. So we see that in the 18th century, this is what the Muslim world inherited from the West, and ended up on a national level. Many Muslim countries ended up taking this curriculum, which has stayed with us till today. So if you look at our school systems today, in any Muslim country generally, you'll see that secular and religious studies are split, and the lion's share normally going to the secular studies. Today, I thought now that we've done the past, and now today I want to do the future, inshallah. So, can you bring up the overview slide? These are the wrong slides. Excuse me. Listen. Excuse me. Can you please recite salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So let me just begin. I would define the present time, as the age of abundance. When our grandparents came from India and settled in Tanzania, or just if you take it 30, 40 years back, there was a mindset of scarcity. There was not enough resources to go around. And there's a scarcity theory which comes from that the food production is a linear growth, while population growth is exponential. So there was a panic in the 1960s and 70s which said that we are moving towards a place where we'll not be able to feed the people. We won't have enough resources. This theory has since been disproved, but the mind is still panicking. So we still have a scarcity mindset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and prove first to you that we live in an age of abundance. If my slides come. 100 years ago, if you had told somebody that in the future, people are going to die from eating too much, they would laugh at you. Because 100 years ago, people didn't have enough calories. So this was a ridiculous statement to them, that you could be eating so many calories that you could die from obesity. For the first time in history, sugar is more dangerous than gunpowder. Less people die from war than they die from obesity. I can't do this without my slides. Can you recite another salawat, please? I'll just try. If you have a flushing toilet, a television, and a telephone, then you live better than the richest people lived 100 years ago. Henry Ford, try to name any millionaire, multimillionaire, Rockefeller, they didn't have a flushing toilet at the turn of the century, neither a telephone nor a television, right? So if you have these three things by any standards, you're already way better off than people or the richest people a century ago. Okay, yeah, just keep it there. Right, so I did the recap. We're in the age of abundance. So I'm going to try and prove to you that we're in the age of abundance. Then I'm going to talk about not only that we are in the age of abundance, but we are going to grow exponentially in terms of material goods. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about the dangers of having a scarcity mindset in an age of abundance. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Right, so this was sugar versus gunpowder. Next slide. Right. So this is where I try to convince you that you're living in an age of abundance, okay? My first comparison. What is the cost of lighting your house for 1 hour to have a good light? Okay? If you go back to ancient Babylon, they would use a sesame oil lamp. It would take a person 400 hours of work, 400 hours of work to light their house for 1 hour. If you come back to 1800, can anybody read that? 1800s, I think it's 50 hours of work. They would use a tallow candle made of whale oil or wax from the head of a sperm whale. 50 hours of work to light your house for 1 hour. Only just if you go from 1800 to 1880, it's about 30 hours. So it's moving rapidly. How many hours? 3 hours. Only 3 hours of work by 1880 to light your house for 1 hour. Come to the present time. If you want to light your house at the average salary, it will take you 1 second of work, of labor, to light your house for 1 hour. All right? So a massive movement from 400 hours of work to 50 to 3 hours to now 1 minute. Okay? And this is a basic commodity, right? So I'm just drawing a parallel that from this long ago to now, how good you have it. Okay? Next slide, please. The first computer, all right? Weighed about 25 tons. Took up a lot of space. Yeah, 50 tons. Oh, sorry, you weighed 50 tons. It cost $7 million. You occupied 1,800 square feet and could only do 5,000 instructions per second. All right? What do you guys have in your pockets now? Next slide. iPhone 6, already outdated, costs only $54, can carry out 25 billion instructions per second, weighs only 129 grams. Don't you feel lucky? A Masaib who had an iPhone would be better connected in terms of information and ability to call than the President of the United States was 25 years ago. So let's say what, Clinton or Bush before that? They don't. Sound? Yeah, nothing can be done. So a Masaib with an iPhone would be better connected than the President of the United States was 25 years ago. This is how fast we're moving, okay? And the rate of change is going to come, inshallah. Next slide, please. The Bible was written on papyrus, or some would say papyrus. It would be very laborious to write on papyrus. You'd have to cure it. It's a huge process, okay? In the 16th, 17th century, you have the Gutenberg press, the first machine that allowed books to be mass printed. If you go to Jamana printers, they have a Gutenberg press there, right on display. Z library or Z library, this is what I use to download books now. Takes me 10 seconds, I download books. I have a reading list of around 30 books that I'm still waiting to read. In Dar es Salaam, when I was growing up, there used to be a lending library. Abdul was on the roundabout. If any of the elders can help me. What was the lending library? There was a library on the roundabout at Odeon. I used to read books from there. There was one summer, they had no books. I had to read Mills and Boons that whole summer. So limited for choice. And now, I have any book that I want. Next slide, please. Right. So, I would like to convince you that you live in an age of abundance. Not just that. There is a futurist by the name of Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil works for Google now, okay? And he talks about that our growth is not a linear growth. It may seem linear, but it's not. And he proves it by using Moore's law about transistors, saying that every year it doubles and it doubles, it doubles. And he's been proved right about 86% of the time. So he's saying that it's not just going to be like this and slowly get better. He says we are on an exponential growth, and right now we are at the knee. See that black line? We are at the knee of the curve. we are going to explode. We are going to build eventually a computer which is which is smarter than us. After that, we won't have to build anything. That computer will build better computers. And then we don't have to do anything. Then we can just relax. I'm not saying it's true or it's not, but this is his theory. But what is true is that all these trends are going this way. Okay? And his timeline may be a little bit off, but this is what's going to happen. We are going to go on an exponential growth. Okay? Next slide, please. The invention of chess. Just want to make my point here. There was a king, the Persians say it was in Persia, the Indians say it was in India, but there's a person who invented chess because the king was bored with the, other games, and so he said, "Can you invent a game?" So this person invents chess. And the king is so happy, he says, "I will reward you. What do you want? You want a bag of gold?" Now this inventor of chess was a mathematician. He said, "No, sire, just give me 1 grain of rice. Put it on the first square. And then after that, double it. So on the second block, you put 2 grains of rice. And on the third one, 4, and then 8, and then 16. So he said, "Fine, granted." As they went on, by the time they reached the end, and they kept doubling and doubling, till the half, it was no problem. My maths is not so good, but you guys should read up on this. By the time they reached almost the end of the board, the amount of rice had become so much that the whole treasury was empty. And the value of the gold, the whole treasury was empty, and some more. Incidentally, the king chopped his head off because he was asking for too much. But this is the power of compound or exponential growth. So my point, which I'm trying to make, is that we are in an age of abundance. Though it may not feel like it, but if you were to compare it with the past, you will realize you're in an age of abundance. Right, next slide, please. Go back. Right. The dangers of having a scarcity mindset in an age of abundance. Okay? So scarcity, our acquisitiveness to get more and more. Okay? In this day and age, I'm saying that this is very dangerous to have this kind of mindset. First, the dominant culture of today is the Western culture. Right? They espouse capitalism. Before now, no society or religion has said that you should consume more and more. Every society, every religion has said, be thrifty. Don't spend too much. Save your money. Right? Do not do asraf. This is the first society, as far as I know, that says that greed is good. This is in Adam Smith's book, Wealth of Nations. He says, in so many words, that greed is good. Donald Trump, during the recession, made a speech, and he said that if you're a true patriot, you will go out and you will spend money and you will buy things. Right? So, all these societies, and remember even the Christian society, before this theory, Jesus alayhi salam said that it is harder for a rich man to go into heaven than for a camel to go through the eye of the needle. Right? So even in their culture, there was a concept of saving money, of being thrifty. Now, our nafs amara tells us, acquire more. Always our heart is telling us that you should acquire more. It's a fitrati thing. And now there's a society which tells you that yes, this is good. Acquire more. It's like the perfect storm. Okay? And the result, what you see now, is that this whole concept of getting into debt and showing and keeping up with the Joneses, right? So in America, pretty much everybody that I know is in debt. Either they have a mortgage or they have to buy a new car. And when they have a car, then they have to buy a bigger car or a bigger house. Okay? This is a typical capitalist thinking. Okay? Another problem. Okay. So let me give you an analogy. A few decades ago, in India or in Africa, still is, that if you were to see a fat person, this was him showing off his status. He's saying that I can afford more calories. And everybody goes, wow, look at that guy. He's rich. And he would purposely make himself fat to show that I'm the man. So a fat person is respected even in Tanzania, many parts is still like that. But when we look at a person like this and we say, this is so ridiculous. You are sacrificing your health. You're sacrificing your fitness. You're sacrificing your quality of life just to show off your status. Trust me, there will come a generation after us and they will look at this generation and say, how stupid. These people could have done with a small house, but they bought a bigger house and they bought many cars to show off their status. All the tax people came to them. They were afraid of being robbed. They had to pay for maintenance and so on and so forth. And their generation will come and say, really? That's so stupid. The same way we would look at a fat person and we would say, that's ridiculous. If you have wealth, there's so many better ways to show off instead of becoming fat. Yeah? Trust me, there'll be a generation that'll talk about us or this generation this way. Right. The second problem of having a scarcity mindset in this day and age, when there was less resources, you had two things to choose from. If you're acquisitive, you say, ochi vastu ati, ilai lido, no problem nati. But in this day and age, there is something called the cost of choice. Okay? There is so much variety. Okay? And especially for Khojas, okay, there is a mindset known as maximizers. You're the type of person who wants to... Excuse me. Should I continue? Can you hear me? Should I just continue? All right. There's a mindset known as a maximizer mindset. And I think Khojas may be a prey to that. If you look at a few things and you say, this is in my budget, I'm just going to get it. Doesn't matter. Fine. But I can't hear myself. Excuse me. Right. So I was saying the maximizer mindset. So what happens is that you're not satisfied with just getting something which is in your budget. You say, out of these three things, I'll just get this. It's in my budget. You want to get the best deal. Okay? And this is, there's a research has been done on this. If you have a maximum mindset, you want to get the best deal. Now, there are not only just three things to compare. There's 100 things to compare. So people are spending time on Amazon, whatever the other sites are, in trying to get the best deal. Okay? So you may think that it's good for you that you have so much choice now and that you can get a better deal. But this choice has a cost. You spend more time, you're more addicted because there's so much choice. This time has to come from somewhere. Where is it coming from? It's coming from your relationships. The relationship you have with your child or with your parent or with your friend. Okay? So all this is actually causing depression in people who have a maximizer mindset. It's becoming a big problem. Okay? And what is happening is also causing loneliness. I'm not saying it's all the causes, but it's one of the main causes of loneliness is this. Too much choice. Okay? UK has now appointed a minister of loneliness because this has become such a big problem. All right? And trust me, what is happening there is only a short step away from what is going to be happening here if we do not catch on, if we do not control it. So how do we control it? What is the antidote to getting out of the scarcity mindset? First, just look at the facts. Compare yourself with the rich people of before, and you'll see that you're so much better off. That should be one. So Islam gives us the prescription. He says, somebody save me. We need to invest in the media team. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. There's a study by Harvard, okay? It spans over generations. It's a longest study. It's been going on for 70 years. They took people from the rich, the middle class, the lower class, and they studied them. And they studied if they were happy or not. And they found out that after a certain minimum of earning, when you're able to pay your bills, what is important is the relationships you have. If you have good relationships, you're happy. If you don't have good relationships, you're not happy. Relationships require investment. You have to invest time in a relationship, and that's how it's going to become good. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire. If you have no good relationships, you are going to be a sad, lonely person. Okay? So, the antidote is, at first, look at the facts. Islam tells us when it comes to material things, compare yourself with people who are lower than you. When it comes to spiritual things, compare yourself to people who are higher than you. So, like I mentioned, if you have these four things, if you wake up in a bed, if you have access to clean drinking water, yeah, if you know that you can eat tomorrow, you know that you can afford a meal tomorrow, you're already in the top 15-20%, right? In fact, the Khoja community could be in the top 1%, right? So, you are really well off. Count your blessings. God speaks to Nabi Musa. He says, "Ya Musa," he says, "do you want to know that who will be with you at your level in Jannah?" Nabi Musa says, "Yes, my Lord, I would like to know." So God tells him to go to this person who is a woodcutter. And so Nabi Musa goes to him and he sees that he's cutting wood. After he's finished cutting wood, he says, "I would like to come and be your guest for a while." The woodcutter said, "Fine." The woodcutter, after he cut the tree, he went, he sold his firewood, he bought some grain, and then he went home, and then he crushed the grain and made a paste out of it, and he cooked 2 chapatis. He ate one, and he gave one to Nabi Musa. Up till now, Nabi Musa didn't see anything special. He's thinking, God, what's so special? Now, this woodcutter now starts to thank Allah. He says, "Ya Allah." He says, "Ya Allah, I thank you. I thank you for letting me cut the tree that I did not grow. Ya Allah, I cut it with my axe, a metal that I did not produce." He says, "I took the wood with the strength of my arms, which you gave me. I sold the wood, I bought grain, which I did not make. I crushed the grain with a piece of stone that I did not create. I cooked it on a fire that I did not create. I ate it and I digested it with my system that I did not make. And this shukr put this person at the level of Nabi Musa. Just this, to make shukr. And if you make shukr, then you are at the level of Nabi Musa. So, count your blessings. Follow the supply chain. If your child is only used to buying from the supermarket, tell him that this meat, how does it come to you? Take him. Let him see it being slaughtered. Let him see it being fed. There's a feed. The whole process. Then appreciation will come that this is not easy. Yeah? And a sense of thankfulness comes about. Second, know that Allah is your Razik and that He has guaranteed your sustenance. It's simple in its repetition, but it's so important. When you were in your mother's stomach, God had provided for you already. When you didn't have teeth, you also got fed. When God gave Nabi Musa the ability to speak to animals, I'm going to paraphrase a bit, okay? Nabi Sulaiman said, Ya Allah, you've been feeding everybody. This time it's my treat. Let me feed everybody. Let me feed all the animals. God said, Ya Sulaiman, this is not your level. This is for me to do. But Nabi Sulaiman was insistent. He said, oh my Lord, please, let me do this. Let me do this. So God said, okay, do it. And so Nabi Sulaiman had the jinns collect food from everywhere. He got his people, his servants, everybody, and they prepared a feast near the ocean so that animals from the land could eat from them, from the food, and creatures from the ocean as well could be fed as well. And everything was ready. Nabi Sulaiman was ready, and he said, please welcome everybody to the feast. Today I will take the laqab of Razik and I will provide food for you. And so a whale came up and he took all the food in one bite. And then he said, Ya Sulaiman, this is just one morsel for me. Give me more. And Nabi Sulaiman realized, this is not for me to do. This is only Allah can do. What are you worried about? A whale who can eat more than you could produce in a year is fed every day, and there are thousands like. So what are you worried about? I'm not saying that you should become lazy. Work hard, but your risk is guaranteed from Allah. Yeah? Keep this in mind. Know that the age you are in, if you are too acquisitive, you will lose yourself. There is no scarcity, but there is emotional scarcity. People are becoming lonely. Children don't have access to their parents. They need that time, because if you're going to keep them safe in this day and age, this is it. This is what they need. You need to keep them close to you. You need to give them time. And the last, but not the least, and the best, is that we have been provided a model in the Ahlul Bayt. Follow their example. Keep them close. This is also what God has told us to do. And He is guaranteed that you hold on to this, you will not stray. Fast. Look at the example where the household fasted for three days consecutively. And then when there was time for iftar, somebody came. They gave their food away. When you fast, your heart becomes soft. You can accept, or it's easier for you to take the teachings of God. Follow the example of Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam. He, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He who would mend his own shoe. Or the example of Bi Fatima alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Who lived the simplest life, despite of having all the wealth of Fadak, despite of Ali being the hero of all the battles and could have collected all the war booty. Imam Ali himself would work in the fields and turned 80 hectares of desert land into arable land, and then he would give it away. These examples are in front of us. Today is a Shahadat of Bibi. Make a dua, whatever dua, use her as a wasila, and soften your hearts by crying. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. Please recite salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. It was a short life, as short as the lives of a fragrant rose, a life that Hazrat Zahra went through, and it's finally coming to an end. For Amir al-Mu'mineen to lift the door of Khaybar was extremely easy. But on a night like tonight, lifting the janazah of Fatima Zahra wasn't easy. For us, a night like tonight and a day like tomorrow is going to pass the way every night and every day pass. But for Amir al-Mu'mineen, a night like tonight and a day like tomorrow wasn't easy. For Amir al-Mu'mineen, it wasn't easy losing his wife Fatima. And for Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein, Sayyida Zainab, Bibi Kulsum, it wasn't easy losing their mother Fatima. In the history of Islam, we have 3 janazas, 3 tabuts, that when the person who was giving ghusl to that particular janaza, he was heard crying, he was heard grieving. The first was our beloved 5th Imam. When he was giving ghusl to Imam Sajjad, he was seen and heard crying. And when people approached the 4th Holy Imam, and they asked the 4th Holy Imam, Ibn Rasulullah, why were you crying? Asked the 5th Holy Imam, why were you crying while you were giving ghusl to your father? To which he responded that when I was giving ghusl to my father, the 4th Imam, I saw stains and marks on his body which were done to him by the army of Yazid. The second janaza, or the second tabut, is the tabut of the 4-year-old of Imam al-Hussein. Sayyida Zainab was seen crying. And when she was asked that, "Oh Zainab, why are you crying?" To which she responded that I see a lot of stains, a lot of marks on a body of a 4-year-old girl. And the third personality who was seen crying while giving ghusl was none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen, while he was giving ghusl to Sayyida Fatima. And when asked that, "Oh Ali, why were you crying?" he would respond that Zahra never complained, or Zahra never told me that her ribs were broken. Amir al-Mu'mineen reports that I saw Fatima doing the household chores while she was sick. I approached the daughter of the Prophet and I asked the daughter of the Prophet, "Oh Fatima, you are sick. You need to rest. Why are you doing all these works?" To which she responded, "O Abul Hassan, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm completing all these works because, O Ali, today is my final day on the earth. I want to do the hair of my kids. I want to wash the clothes of my kids because soon they are going to be orphans. They are going to be without a mother." And once Hazrat Zahra had completed all her tasks and all her jobs, she turns back to Amir al-Mu'mineen, "O Ali, I have certain wasiyas that I want to do them to you. And I want you to execute them." Amir al-Mu'mineen turns back to Fatima and tells Fatima, "O Fatima, tell me, what are your wasiyas?" She turns back to Amir al-Mu'mineen and tells him, "O Ali, since we became life partners, have I ever been disobedient to you? Or have I ever disobeyed you, O Ali?" Amir al-Mu'mineen turns back to Fatima and tells Fatima, "O Fatima, by Allah, you have never disobeyed me. O Fatima, by you leaving me, my nights are going to be sleepless. O Fatima, the stain, the mark of the Shahadat of the Holy Prophet is still present. And by you leaving us, by you leaving me, you are adding another stain and another mark." Hazrat Zahra turns back to Amir al-Mu'mineen, "O Ali, I want you to bury me. O Ali, I want you to give me kafan. O Ali, I want you to do my hunud. O Ali, do all these things when people are asleep at night. O Ali, those who troubled me, do not allow them to come on my janazah." Asma bint Umays narrates that it was the 3rd of Jamadiul Akhar. I saw Hazrat Zahra doing the household chores, completing them as soon as possible. And once she had completed all her works and all her tasks, she approached me and she told me, "O Asma, I'm going inside my room and I'll be doing the takbir and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you hear my takbirs and my dhikrs are going on, know that Fatima is still alive. But O Asma, if these takbirs and these dhikrs stop, know and understand Fatima has departed. Fatima has joined the Holy Prophet. O Asma, once you realize that Fatima is no longer with us, go towards the masjid and inform Ali. But meanwhile, if my kids return back home, first do not inform them that Fatima is no longer alive. Serve them food and then inform them." Hazrat Zahra enters her room. she begins the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She begins the takbir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Asma reports that after a few moments, these zikrs and these takbirs stops. And I enter the room, and when I enter the room, I see that Fatima is no longer with us. I wanted to rush towards the masjid, but I saw that Hassan and Hussein had arrived back home. So I went to Hassan and Hussein, and the first question that these two kids asked me was, "Oh Asma, where is our mother Fatima? Whenever we come back home, she's always present. She's always seated here, waiting for us. But oh Asma, where is our mother?" Asma turns back to the kids according to what Hazrat Zahra had told her. She turns back to the kids and tells the kids, "Oh kids, let me serve you food. Have your food first, and then I'll inform you where is your mother Fatima." They turn back to Asma and they tell Asma, "Oh Asma, have you ever seen us eating without our mother Fatima?" And both the brothers run towards the room of Hazrat Zahra. And when they enter the room, they see that Hazrat Zahra is no longer present. She's no longer alive. According to the wasiyah, according to the will of Hazrat Zahra to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam gives her ghusl, Amir al-Mu'mineen gives her kafan, Amir al-Mu'mineen does the hunut of Zahra. And this janaza is lifted with very few people, very close companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Holy Prophet. And Amir al-Mu'mineen goes and buries her to a place which is not known to us till to date. After burying Hazrat Zahra, Amir al-Mu'mineen turns back to the Holy Prophet and tells the Prophet of God, "O Prophet of God, when you had given me this amana, when you had given me your daughter Fatima, she was fit, she was healthy, she was not injured, she had no stains on her body. But O Prophet of God, when today I'm returning Fatima, she looks like an old lady with her back bent. O Prophet of God, your daughter will tell you, your daughter will inform you what the ummah of the Prophet did to her after your demise." I will turn back to Hazrat Zahra and I will tell her, "O Fatima, you are very lucky. Ali was present. He gave you ghusl. He gave you kafan. He did your hunut. He buried you according to your wasiyah. But in the plains of Karbala, there was another Ali. He saw his father's body laying on the plains of Karbala for 3 days, but he wasn't given the permission of giving him ghusl. He wasn't given the permission of doing his hunut. He wasn't given the permission of burying him." Ala la'natullah ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ماتم حسين.
पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुरबत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुरबत है। क्या हाल ये उम्मत ने ज़हरा का बनाया है, पहलू भी
بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت ہے، کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، شکستہ ہے، خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی، 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی، کس طرح سے تو بھی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی، بالوں کی سفیدی کا حال سنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے،
مجھے آپ کی امت نے ستایا، مار کر منہ پہ تماچے، مار کر منہ پہ تماچے رلایا بابا،
قسمت کی طرح دکھ بھی پردے میں رہے تیرے، کچھ درد تیرے بی بس جانتی فضا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے،
تیری امت نے
ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے،
پھر وہ جلتا ہوا دروازہ، پھر
دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریخ میں جو اٹھے، بس گئے کی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک بالی سکینہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکست ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکست، خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی، 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ، دو ایسے جنازے ہیں تاریخ میں جو اٹھے، بس گئے کہ ہی لوگوں نے دونوں کو دیے کاندے، ایک فاطمہ زہرا ہے، ایک بالی سکینہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکست ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے،
تربت بھی شکستہ ہے. سورۃ المکارۃ الفاتحہ.
توجہ اجارہ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين، خصوصا سيدي يا أبو الفضل عباس وأختك زينب وأم كلثوم بنتك سكينة ورقية جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا إمام محمد الباقر. السلام عليك إمام جعفر الصادق. السلام عليك يا إمام موسى كاظم. آقائے غریبان، مولا بے کسان، زامنان یتیمان، بادشاہ خراسان. السلام علیک یا غریب الغربہ. السلطان ابو الحسن علی ابن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا أبي ما سمعكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا إمام محمد التقي. السلام عليك يا إمام علي النقي. السلام عليك يا إمام حسن العسكري. السلام عليك يا مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان ومن شر الشيطان. السلام عليك يا تمام شهداء كربلاء وأسيران كربلاء جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. صواب الفاتحة.